How to transform your DS into a switch. We're gonna need a DS Lite, 5.0 mod kit, some soldering and some wire. First, we disassemble the console. Now that the console is open, firstly you can remove the cables from the mic and the Wi-Fi. Also remove the model. Now we open the 5.0 mod kit and we have a custom PCB and a custom Wi-Fi model. We can install the model directly. But now we should open the DS, remove the top screen, remove the touch screen and lift up the screen. Okay. On the front part of the PCB we need to solder the BT plus, the battery positive. So let's put in the BAT positive. And solder a wire there. Now we can turn over the console, fix it into place, be careful with the cables. Now comes the harder part in soldering. The wire we just connected to the battery positive. Can pass it through here, behind the bottom screen. Can connect the Wi-Fi. Okay, here we have the battery positive cable. We can cut it to length and we should solder it to on the PCB we have a small point which says BAT on the top, and we should solder it there. Wire and solder. Done. Now we have 5 points, 1 up to 5, which we will solder in this part right here. I'll show you an image above to where which point should go, and we should have some wire and start soldering. Let's start with point 1. These are all through holes, so we can just pass the wire through and then solder, which makes it a lot easier. Okay. Now let's cut it more to measure. Okay. Point 1 goes here. This type of wire is also good to use because it's very thin and you can even pass it through in these holes. And then you solder on top. Makes it a lot easier. If I had a better camera to show it, I mean, you can follow through the images and all, it's probably easier, but a better camera would also be good. Oh well. You just have to make sure it's well soldered. If you have a multimeter, always check continuity to make sure it was properly soldered and there's no problems. Or if the wire isn't broken, whatever wire you decide to use. Okay, I think it's done, but let's check with the multimeter. Touching point 1, and it's done. Great. Now let's do the same for points 2 up to 5. Another wire, took, the wire here. We can cut it a lot. This one is oversized. Okay, now point 2 is now we solder the second wire, which goes in here. Same stuff, we pass it through the hole easily. Okay, it's very thin wire and a thin hole, but we can pass it through the hole. We just do it carefully. It's there. Now with some solder, you just solder it in. Right there. A little bit more of solder. bit, making sure it's well soldered. And done. Okay, so now we just have 3 remaining. Another wire. Pass it through the hole. Solder it. Let's turn this around. Okay. A little bit more. Okay. Number 3. Yeah, number 3 goes here, next to where the first one went. Let's cut it just a bit smaller. Then there it goes. Same as before, just solder it in. Apply a bit more solder. I'm done. Number 4. Number 4 goes, following the image, goes right here on the top. Now we solder it in. It's also done. And now the last one. Number 5. Solder it on the PCB. Okay, done. And number 5 is just a point below number 4. right there. Done. Carefully to make sure I don't hit any other wire. Just move it up a bit. Solder. And clean the tip a bit. Press it. And it's done. Wait, I missed. This wire. And done. Okay, so now the main 5 wires are in. Now we have 2 more we need, and it's connected. They are named U1 and U2. They are on the left top side of the PCB, and if you pay attention to the model you also get 2 points there named U1 and U2. So it's pretty much direct. U1, you solder U1 to U1 and U2 to U2. They are both through holes, so you can pass the wire through and just solder it easily. Even if you burn one, you can solder on the other side. And it should be fine. Let's see, let's start with U1. Wait. I forgot. Let's solder the wire in. U1, solder in. This type of wires can be small because it's right near it. And solder it to U1. So now we soldered the point named U1 on the custom Wi-Fi model. When you are soldering this, always check for continuity to make sure everything was soldered properly and the cable is good as well. So now it's U2. And to U2. Let's cut it a bit smaller. It's still way too big. And here. it's a bit more of solder just to avoid problem, and it's good. Now to the last step. Near the headphone jack you can see you have a number 5 right here and a small green line connecting it to this resistor and to this, I think it's not sure, no, doesn't even matter. So what you wanna do is get a cutting knife, an X knife, whatever, and cut the knife. The point of it being, usually it connects to the resistor, as you can see. We want to cut that connection up. So we get our X knife and cut it. You can be rough with it, okay? The point is cutting it, so as long as you cut it, doesn't matter. Okay, after you think you are done cutting, check continuity to make sure it is properly cutted. For example, right now, is it? It is. Okay, we successfully cut it. So now, last wire. We have the last point on the PCB, named G. Detect. So we pass it through there. Okay. Solder it in. Great. And now we solder it to that to the point named 5 on the headphone jack. Great, and done. Okay, so now you solder the U1 and also solder a wire to point 2, U2, and to here, point U2. Okay, it's done. Now, the hardest part. Get a cutting knife and near the headphone jack, you want to cut the connection that goes to point 5. You see a small green line going to the point named with the number 5, and you cut it. When you think you cut enough, get your multimeter and check if the connection is broken for the resistor. It is, so it's great. If you don't have a multimeter, you can always try to turn on the DS and check. If there's no sound, it's cut it. Okay, now we solder a wire to that point 5, named 5, on the headphone jack. Right here. Okay. To one of the last points on the PCB. This one is named Detect. Just solder it in. Great. Now we decide where we want our video signal to come out of. In my case, I chose to use the headphone jack inside the DS. You can use another jack and install it somewhere where you want. So to anyone who wants to use the headphone jacks, first you're gonna have to turn your DS again, and you have to choose. I'm gonna choose the left signal to remove. So we go to this point named SCL, and remove this small diode. It should be fairly easy, they come out really easily, and it's done. Okay, so now the headphone jack has a right sound signal and an empty one. So now we're just gonna fix the DS right here again. First the screen. Okay. Carefully passing the touchscreen cable. The Wi-Fi cable, I hate this one. I really do. Okay, good enough. Good enough. Let's pass the Wi-Fi cable again. We won't have to turn it up again, so final time. Okay, it's in, and now we just connect this. Done. Pass the touchscreen. Okay, done. Okay, now we connect it again. Okay. These cables. Okay, connected. Done. Okay, so as I was saying, we remove the left signal, so we can now pass the video through there. So we're gonna solder the point 2, name 2, on the headphone jack. Connect a wire to it. A small one, you don't need a lot. Just a small one. Right there. Right. Okay, and you connect it to the point named video on the PCB. Okay, now we soldered the wire in. The wire came out, so let's put it in again. Okay, clean the tip of the iron side, soldering iron, and okay, soldered in. A bit more solder. Okay, great. Now we just have a final point named G. That is a point to connect to ground. You can connect to any ground point. You have a lot here. You can, for example, I'm gonna do it. You can do the point 4 right above the 5 on the headphone jack. You can do the shell of the charger, you can do the DS game reader, you can do a lot. I'm gonna do the DS game reader, so I'm gonna put a wire in G. Right, and I'm gonna cut it about here, and right. Hey, I need to turn it up, upside down. Okay, done. Okay, this is done, so now we'll just rearrange the wires, put some tape and close it up. I'm gonna do a time lapse here, because this is just pointless recording. We're just gonna close it up and see the results. So now, as you can see, I just used some tape to avoid shorts and stuff. The final step is on the case. We're just gonna remove the pen holder and this piece right here. Very simple. Just remove the screws. 2 and 3. Remove this, and now we can close it up. Just missing this piece right here. Okay, now I'm just gonna close it up and skip to the testing to see if everything is working great. Oh yeah, before I forget, there's a small extra you can do. It's optional, but it is to solder the point with the number 4 right here, to the resistor. This will cause the speakers to actually emit sound. If you don't do this, your speakers won't work, but everything else still will. This is an optional step. It's somewhat recommended if you plan on playing portable. Let's see, where the wire here. You just need a small wire. Small 0.4. And to the resistor. Let's just apply some solder first. Okay, it's done. Let's just cut the excess wire. Great. Okay, now let's pass to the testing. So now we can test the handheld mode. Turning it on. Works as normal. And connecting it to the TV, for example. We just turn it on. And it's working as if we decide to disconnect it from the TV. like so. It will return to handheld mode automatically. And it's done.